Thank you for organizing this. I think it's a good, like a nice conference. I couldn't come before, but I think I don't know if I can convince you more than what Edward did before. But I mean, it looked like econometrics was an essential part of your training. So what I'm going to do, instead of trying to convince you, I'll try to still convince you a little bit, but try to maybe it's kind of different the way we deal with data. So we don't try to mine data the way they do. We try to think a little bit, have less data, more thinking, and try to understand more what's going on with the little data that we have. But I do think that this is the future. Being able to play around with the data. I think I'm not going to talk more about that because I think he convinced you enough on that, and then you have to be able to know very well how to get information from that. So what I'm going to do basically is just going through all that. So those who don't know me, I'm the one usually people tell you not to take course with. So when you think about it, when you hear of a course that is very hard, you want some technical. Someone asked about technical courses. So if you want some technical courses, just take my courses, and then you'll be prepared for that. They're hard, but you learn. I can promise you, when you get out of my course, you know a lot more than when you started. So that's a good advice I can give you. So that's what I'm going to do the rest of the talk, give you some advice. First of all, what is econometrics? So this is what econometrics for me. Maybe not for most of what you'll learn, but this is what I do in my research. I don't play much with data. In fact, I don't like data that much. I like to create new methods of estimation. So I like math. I like to. In fact, I'm specialized with method that deals with infinitely many variables. So that's one thing that could be used for big data. But I rarely do play with real data. But I did some work with colleagues. So I'm going to go through a little bit of that today just to show you what kind of thing you can do. So let's look at what really is econometrics. It's not really math. This is more statistics. But econometrics is really what economists do, is thinking about a problem, about a question. So every time you have a question in mind, so the econometrics will give you an answer to it. So what kind of questions? So I selected a few questions from things I've worked before. First question, can you get rich by forecasting returns? I believe you can't, not more than you can get rich by buying lotto tickets. But some people do get rich, but most of people don't. So I can try to give you an idea of that. But that's the kind of question we can ask. It's a very important question. Another question, which is more political economy, do politicians work for themselves, or do they work for the country? So these are questions sometimes we think, but how can I answer a question like that? So there are ways of doing this. There are people who have published a bunch of papers trying to show that politicians are really just working for their own interests. And this is how we build models. Politicians, they try to get elected, try to please the voters, so they're just not trying to necessarily do good things. But these are the questions we can ask and we can answer with some econometrics. This is the one I prefer. So is there any discrimination against French Canadian in the hockey league? I'm going to talk a little bit more about that, but this is really about big data. This is really analytics. So there are a lot of data available in the website. This is something I'm having fun with. So this is the kind of data I'm playing just for my hobby. So that's fun. I have some plan for future project, but this is one of the things I'm going to talk a little bit about. What? Yeah, but free economics is just, there are a lot of wrong analysis in that book, but this is something you have to learn econometrics to know about that. So there's different ways of answering questions. You can think, which is probably the most important first step to do. The problem is using economic theory will not give you a definite answer. For example, if you talk about can you forecast stock returns, then you have to think about what kind of market do we have? What kind of investors do we have? Are they rational? Are they irrational? And if you're just thinking about theory, everything you're going to say will depend on your answer of whether they're rational or not. If you tell me they're rational, then there is no way you can forecast return. So you can talk about that, you can make assumptions, but all these assumptions cannot be verified. Same thing for the second question. You can think about how people behave. They think about their own interests, or they're altruist. So all these things depends. They're very important to build models, but it depends on the assumptions. And if we don't look at data, we cannot test these assumptions. Discrimination, we have to define what is discrimination. And I'll be a little bit more detail on that one, because I think that's, as Canadian, that's the most important question of all. So that's the other way of answering questions, is just to get data. And that's, my view, the best way to answer. Once you have thought about that, you have a good model, then you get the data and you try to get the information out of it. It's probably the best. This is what econometrics is about. It's answering questions using data. And answering questions could be anything, because economics is everything. So every time you talk about economics of sports, talk about politics, environment, so every question you may come to your mind, this is based on economics. So let's just go through. This is just an example of what you can learn in Econ 405. So just trying to answer questions like that one, which is not the only one. So if you look at this stock price, so do you think you can make money out of it? Do you think it's a good thing to invest in that stock? Do you think you would have made a lot of money in 1970 if you had bought that stock? Probably, yeah. So you think if you keep that stock in your pocket, are you going to keep increasing your health? So who think you can make money with that stock? Nobody? So you think you can make money? You think they cannot? Okay.
I wanted to say it depends on your time of frame, right? Depending on how much you want to...
Suppose you can go back in time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
You can come back in time. When we go back in time, some randomness will change everything. So things can change. But anyway, but if I tell you that this is something I generated by flipping a coin, I just flip a coin and I added plus or minus 1 with a probability 1/2, depending if it's a head or tail. So this is something. It's just a coincidence. I just got a trend, which is what we call statistical illusion, that we get just by some luck. And if you compare that with stock returns of IBM, there are some similarities in the way these prices look like. So this is just something that show you that when you don't know all these theory about processes, stochastic processes, you may end up making bad decisions based on what you see. So this is one of the things in 405 is basically finance. So you're going to go through a lot of different things you can think of in finance: modeling, returns, trying to forecast volatility, all that things you can think of. It all depends from one year to another because it's a topic course. I've been teaching this course for the last 4 years. Now I'm going to take a break for the next 5 years maybe, but someone else will teach it instead of me. Or we can ask this question. Some question like that maybe don't need data to answer. That's a joke. I usually don't do joke in my courses, so that's a first. So I thought that was fun. In fact, this is not true. In fact, even if you think that you have evidence that the answer is set up, so we don't have to check that. So you're wrong. So you're never sure whether the answer is right, yes or no. I think I've done a lot of some research. I collected a lot of data from the web trying to see if, for example, the federal government put more money in some writing that has a margin of, they won a very small margin in the last election, because that's what would say, would predict that they really looking for their own interests. So they're just going to put money where they don't know if they're going to win or they're going to lose, just to increase the chance of winning. So they should spend less money in writing where they won with a huge margin. So in that case, we're sure to get that. So we're going to put money, not going to put money there, we're going to put money somewhere else. So this is one way of testing whether the politicians works for their own party or for the country. Are they making good decision, or are they just trying to get elected? Okay, so let's go to the very important question. So, do we have any discrimination against French Canadian in the NHL? So this is Martin Saint-Louis. You recognize that. So we have to talk about hockey in Canada. So if you look at the proportion of Canadian in the NHL, it went down from 20% to 11% from 2001 to 2014. So why is that the case? So is there a sign of discrimination? Here, what I want to show you is that this is not easy to answer as a question, but that could be an interesting result that we may push us to look a little bit deeper. So what do we need? What do we need for something to be considered discrimination? So what could explain this lower proportion of players coming from Quebec?
There could be better players being developed in either the English-speaking part of Canada or from America or from Europe or somewhere else.
That could be a case. So of course, maybe if in Quebec they don't know how to play hockey anymore, so that could explain that. Let's look at the performance of players. So if you look at the performance of players, they've always been better in the NHL. So that's the green line from Quebec. So we have the Ontario and you have the rest of Canada. So we have a small period in the 90s that they were comparable, but before and even in recent years, there's a huge difference. So how can that be that? So can we conclude? So we stop there. There's discrimination. That's the end of the story. Or we have to go a little bit more. Yeah.
It could be that the best players from Quebec are choosing to go to the better playing and more high-profile American teams or European teams instead of the NHL.
So you think they prefer to play in Europe than in North America?
Well, I guess the NHL
could be. I mean, that's a possibility. There's another possibility.
Well,
yeah,
I was going to say maybe the population in Quebec is decreasing, so there's not as many people.
Yeah, that could be true, but it's not the case. It could be an example. Yeah.
Control for the performance of the teams that they're playing for?
The what?
The performance of the teams that they're actually playing for. Settle effect.
Yeah, we didn't control, but this is for all players. Are they playing for? So you think the people from Quebec would play in different teams, different types of teams?
There's a lot of French Canadians and the Montreal Canadiens, and the Habs aren't exactly.
No, they're not. it's pretty cool. But you make a point. We don't control for anything here. And that's the problem. And that's why you have to learn econometrics. Because this is extremely hard to answer as a question. But this is another possibility. Maybe there are smaller players. So that's Martin Saint-Louis again. But he's a small player. But if you look at the graphs, Quebecois has always been smaller than the average other players in the NHL. So maybe that, and usually you have the first two lines that score goals, and the third and the fourth line who just are the big guy. Who don't score, but they are fighting, they are doing a lot of stuff except scoring. So maybe we're not big enough for that. So we just get selected for the first few lines, so that's why in average we score more. And if that's the case, then we don't have any discrimination. So that we have to, so we really have to, and it's not easy, we have a lot of things to look at. We have to look at the age profile, we have to look at the distribution in the junior and so on. So building models, this is one of the big problem in econometrics. So we have to come up with a model. So we have to think about what may make a player. So some people just came to me and said, maybe the culture, maybe Quebec is a Latin culture. Some European, they don't like to fight. They don't like to play in the third and the fourth. So they don't apply to the NHL unless they are going for the first and the second line. I don't buy that much, but that could be an explanation. So we have to look at it. Maybe it's been a discrimination since a long time. So if you don't go for the first and second line and score goals, but you don't try because you know you're not going to get it, not going to get the job. So you just stop hockey earlier. So if there is some discrimination that happened for a long time, then you have some process that happened that created what we have now. But that's very, very difficult questions. And this is what we call labor economics. There's a lot of people trying to show if there's discrimination against immigrants, discriminations against women in the job market in Canada. So this is the same kind of question we ask for hockey or for any other area. Hockey is easier because we get data from hockey, much more than we get data from any other manufacturer about, maybe what can help us getting more data about that. But we don't have easily data for that. So what we do, a very good econometrics model, first select what kind of function we need, what kind of control we have to fix, age, some weight, height of the players, different other types of things. Maybe we don't, maybe scoring goals is not the only thing we have to look at. Maybe there are other qualities we have to look at as well. So once we have this, then we can, what we do, we just test. Do some test statistics looking at the probability of selection versus if we can show that the probability of selecting a Quebecois is the same as any other players, everything else being equal, then we show that there is no discrimination. If there is a lower probability for everything else being equal, then we can show there's discrimination. And that's how we do it. And in order to do that, we need a lot of knowledge of statistics, how it works, because we need to be able to know how we build this function. So do you really need to know econometrics? But after today, I guess you have to ask yourself, why not? What can I do without it? I think having a degree in economics without econometrics is like a degree in philosophy. But that's basically what it is. I mean, and it's not bad. I mean, you learn how to think, you learn how to understand what's going on, or to ask questions, but you have no answers to any of these questions. And so you have to be able to go and get the data, have to be able to answer the questions by yourselves. So I think it's very important. I'm not going to talk about big data. I think it's clear that big data, it's a big issue that should push you to take more stats, more econometrics. But I think it makes you also understand economics better. Because once you have a question in mind, so you go see the data, you learn a lot from estimating models. You learn a lot from getting information from your model. And you have, at the end of the day, when you finish estimating your model, you know much more than before you started. So that's, I mean, I think it's very essential for any economist. How should I prepare? Take my courses, which means work hard. And I mean, there's no, I mean, I feel weird telling you that here. So you look like all grown up, should know about that. But it seems that not everyone knows about whether they should work hard. And it's the key. I mean, work, and work, first of all. Second, take math courses, as many as you can, as early as you can in your program. Because when you don't have the the background in math that you need, you don't get everything that you need in the course. You don't understand everything that is important. So then you're just spending time trying to understand the math. You forget about all the intuitions. You have no time for that. So try to take math 211 first, it's not yet a prerequisite for 221, but 211 first, this is the most important thing. Learn math and then statistics. 221 is statistics, which is just an applied math. So this is very important. We're trying to make the program a little bit more technical now, because we know that the students are asking for that, and then try to take advantage of that. Then, once you've taken that, you prepare your math, take all the econometrics that you can, which means 321, which is the basic. I'm going to talk a little bit about the difference between all the courses. 311, this is after 211. Take that course as soon as possible. People usually wait for that one because historically it's been it's been a very scary courses, but it has changed a little bit. It's still scary because I'm teaching it, but it's not the same. It used to be real analysis. It was crazy, but now I mean, it's very important. And I've met a lot of people who have had a hard time in the 400 level course, 401, 402, 421, because they hadn't taken 311 before. So you have to take that, and after that, everything will be a piece of cake, almost. So you have to take 311 first. And after that, 421 is just the 321, 421 is the two courses you have to take, and you have a good training in econometrics. The rest are topics course, so I'm going to explain that a little bit. And just to finish what you should do, trust econometrics. And here I'm just going to give you a few results of studies that I think you should follow as a student. These are serious results. Laptop in class has a negative impact on students. So don't use your laptop. It's useless in econometrics course. So that's not me. That's a study, very serious study, published in 2007. Cell phone in class has a very negative impact on students. So also very important study just came out in a publication, another econometrics analysis. Texting while walking and waiting instead of thinking has a negative impact. This is something I'm planning to do in 2014, 24, but I haven't done that yet. But I think it's very important. I mean, I remember when I was a student, all my problems, I was solving them when I was taking the bus, thinking about my problems, or walking in the street instead of answering text all the time. I know it's the ideal world, but I think people don't think enough, and you have to think more, because this is when you just disconnected from everything. This is where you start learning. And I think these are a little trick that helped me a lot in my study, and I think you should try to follow them. How much time do I have? Yes? 10 more minutes. Oh, that's okay. Okay, let's go through the different courses. Just very quick example of things that you learn in each courses. So 321 is a very empirical course. Empirical and technical, this is the basis of every econometric courses that you'll take after that. So you estimate models like this one, which is an important thing. So here is a study where, for example, you try to predict test score of high school students on the student to teacher ratio. So to see very policy implication, should we reduce class size in high school? Does it have an impact on the student's performance in test? So there are different ways of estimating models. So I'll just give you an example that if you just include one variable, you look at the -2, so it tells you that 1% increase in the ratio lower the score by 2%, by 2 points. And if you change your model, you get something much smaller. And probably if I add other things, you'll get maybe a positive number. So here in this course, you'll learn how to construct your model properly, because you can get all sorts of results, and it is very dangerous, in fact, to come up with something that has a completely opposite impact and make decisions based on that. So you have to be able to build the model properly in order to be able to make decisions based on that. So 321 is one thing. Measuring wage, return to education. You want to know if it's worth going to school. So you can try to see if education is related to wage. So if 1 year of education gives you $1 more per hour, is it worth pursuing this year of education? And so on. And this is I put that example because this is the most important example that we have in the literature, because this is most of the time badly done. So if you try to estimate this, you get, in general, a wrong answer. Problem is that education is not something that is exogenous. Education is determined by many other things like QI, intelligence. So people who are more intelligent usually are better workers, have higher wage and higher education just because it's easier for them to go to school. And they have also a better pay because they are working better. So this positive correlation will reflect some other kind of thing that we don't observe in the data. So we have to know how to build that properly. So this is going through all these courses. So we're going to learn how to build a good model, testing assumptions, doing some inference on the data. But this is not a complete course. There's a lot of things you cannot answer in that course. There's a lot of model that we don't have time to cover. So you have to go a little bit taking more advanced courses like 421. So 421 is basically 321, a little bit more advanced, plus some add-on to it. So we do everything in more technical way. So we're showing more properties mathematically than in 321. So you need a little bit more math. So if you took 311, you have no problem with that. And you're going to learn other technical method as well, like the one that could, for example, answer the question about the discrimination. Grad school, of course, if you want to go to grad school, take all the econometric course you can take, all the math you can take. So that's important. There's a huge step between undergrad and grad school in math. So you have to prepare for that. So these are the example of things you can estimate after 421. So this is a probability model. So this is something you cannot estimate in 321. So you want to, for example, see if being a smoker, probability of being a smoker is going up or down when you have some smoking area, banned smoking area in your workplace. So here, for example, we show that in a workplace, if you do not allow your workers to smoke in the work area, the probability of being a smoker decreased by about 0.4%. So you can make policy based on that. So these kind of models are extremely important, and you learn that in 421. Quickly, there are two topic courses you can take if you want to learn more. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this one before I finish. So this is the course I created 4 years ago, and this is the numerical method course for economists. This is where you learn how to program. So you want to learn how to write codes to extract data from the web. You can get it from there if you want to get big data. So here I'm using R. I'm a big fan of R. I like open source software. I think they're great. There are a lot of people contributing to these kind of software. So I'm teaching how to write program efficiently using some parallel programming. And the goal of this is to solve problems that you learn how to solve in your econ course in math using computer. So optimizing a function numerically, solving a nonlinear equation numerically, getting a differential equation, solving it numerically. So all that starts. So it's a great course. I think you should take it. For now it's joint with PhD students, but I mean even the PhD students they are new in that. So everyone is equal approximately. So it's a great course. So it's good for macroeconomists, microeconomists, econometricians. So there's a lot of and I've seen a lot of people being asked to write a program for their interview when they go for it in the job market. So if you have that skill in your CV, it's a very important. So if you want to take that course, take 311, 104, 142, and you're welcome. And to finish, this is why I think everyone should take some econometrics to avoid being fooled by every numbers you see, every analysis you see in the newspapers, a lot of them are badly done. So if you want to learn how to interpret, how to critique what people are doing, so I think it's another reason why you should learn as much as you can some econometrics. Okay? Thank you.